What's up, everybody? Welcome. My name is Dutchman Games, and today we are going to work more on our island. We're going to left off exactly where we were in the first episode when we exited this, and we are going to work on getting the lightning and the post-processing and all that stuff set up. So, what we need to do is in the last episode we added a directional light. So let's actually delete it now, and let's actually make sure that we put that in so you guys know where to find it. So what you can do is you can just go to the lightning tab here, and this has everything we need for now. And you just want to throw in the directional light, and you want to throw in the skylight. The skylight's going to make sure that some shadow areas get better lighting. For example, if we were to delete this, you would see all these heavy shadow areas, and we just want it to kind of reflect, as it were. That's what the skylight does. Um, Now that we've set that up, we also want some fog. So we can actually go and look for fog, and you will find exponential height fog. Now you also have local fog, and I'll show you what the difference is. Is the local fog is literally what it says it is. It's just a small area that has fog in it, and you can kind of play with that, if you will, kind of like change the opacity on it, kind of make it different in that area. And the exponential height fog is fog that covers the whole map. Now, we want the fog to be a different color. So what we will do is we will go to the fog in scattering color, and we will set it to more of a white color. Kind of grayish, I prefer to do. Now, this is a little bit too much fog to my opinion, so we're going to change the density a little bit more. And then also the height fall off, we can change to a little bit less high. And now we have a fog setup, which just looks nice, gives it a little bit of a detail. And we're also going to make a post-processing volume. And we're going to put this in here, and we're going to set the scale to 2000 by 2000, so it sets up the whole map. And also the height will be 2000. And then we're going to click on bloom, and we're going to add a little bit of bloom. So let's look at the sun and add a little bit of bloom. There we go. We're also going to add a little bit of lens flare. I mean, if you don't want this, you don't have to, but I always like to add like just a little smidge of it. And then we're going to the temperature colors, and we're going to set the temperature color to a little colder, just a little bit colder. And then you can also change the saturation if you want. We're not going to do that for now. You know what? I'll just show you how to do that. We're going to raise it up a little bit, like we're in Halo. You can see if I put it up way too high, it gets over that, oversaturated. We don't want that. So just a little. Okay, so this already looks better. If we were to play it now, it already looks better. The lightning looks better. Uh, Everything just generally looks better. It's a little bright sometimes, and that's because of the exposure. Now you can actually change this exposure pretty easily. If you go to the post-process system, you can go to exposure, and you can actually set the exposure to a min and a max. And let's say we put this to 1 and the max to 1 as well. It will stay this type of exposure all the time. Now let's say we go to 5, 5. It'll make it a lot darker. And we can kind of play with how we want the exposure to be. I kind of prefer to keep it, well, if we keep it to this, we keep it to -5, it will become very bright. We don't want that, so let's put it to, the min can be 1 and the max can be 2. Now that way, or 3 even, 0, there we go. That way, if you go into a cave, it will become darker, and if you go outside of a cave, it will become lighter, but it won't be that heavy, so to speak. Um, okay, so now that we've done that, we've done the basics of getting the map look a little bit better. We are actually going to add we're actually going to touch up the island a little bit more. So let's go to the landscape tool and let's go to paint and select the layer with no plants, which is the second one. And we want to put this over the coast because naturally we don't want any plants in the water. So just put that over the coast where you're going to see the coast anyway. And then this is a little bit too steep. So I kind of want to make a path that goes up here so you can actually walk up that path. And then we're going to make that look better later with items in it. So let's actually do that. So we can easily make a ramp and do it that way. I prefer to just sculpt it myself. So we're going to sculpt a path like that. Right? Looks a little weird now, but we'll see it. And then we're going to actually use erosion again. Kind of erode it out and kind of like create a path, so to speak. So now you kind of have a natural path you can walk up to into this hillside area. Like that. These will all despawn. Don't worry about that. Alright. So I feel like this is a little bit too... can flatten it a little. Smooth that a little. Smooth this out a little. And then you get your path. Also, I don't want any plants on this. Or at least we could maybe put a different layer of something on it. So let's do that. Let's put a different layer on this and put the tool strength to the highest so it will actually work. Oh wait, layer with no plants. My bad. Huh, it's already working for some reason. I have no idea why it's not working. Oh. I was not on well, I mean, sometimes that happens. I was still on smooth. You have to be on paint, otherwise it doesn't work. So layer no plant, no path, and just go over this. And that's way too strong. So let's make it a little bit less strong so it blends in better. Okay, that's still way too strong. So let's, something like that. Gonna make a path. And even like you can do this, you know, like you start here, kind of. And then to make it look a little bit better, we're going to reduce the tool strength and the brush size, and we're going to just add in like blotches of something else. Just click a lot. Click, 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 click. This way it kind of looks like it's naturally kind of growing moss or whatever on the sides. And that's what we want. Like to the sides there, a little bit of here, a little bit of here, a little bit of here, over this. Kind of make it look like it's like it's not a perfect path, because perfection doesn't exist in nature, so we don't want that, except dogs, of course. All right, so now that we have a little path, we also want our path on the side to have a kind of a hill, because you're going through a forest. So here we will actually add like a little hill. And then we can put plants on there later, and it will look great. Also on this side, add a little hill. There we go. We can just keep these the way they are. Walk up here, and then this is all kind of like crooked almost. So we can actually flatten this out a little as we go up. And it kind of looks weird now, but as we do this, we can smooth it out, and it'll look just fine. So we can smooth this out here on the sides. Smooth out here. Smooth, smooth, smooth. Smooth, 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 smooth. And then it looks a lot better. All right, I think it's time to add in items, static meshes, and that kind of stuff. So let's go to the selection tool. Let's make this a lot smaller. And let's first start with rocks. So do we have rocks? We have rocks. And all these rocks are from the Landscape Pro pack. And so we can just use these to, oh, these are static mesh foliage. We need only static mesh. So we select on the filter, static mesh, right here. And then you only get the actual static meshes that you want to use. Now, every time you put it in, it has to load it. So keep that in mind. At the beginning, it might take a little long. And to keep this simple, you can also, in theory, load them all in at once, and then you don't have to worry about that. But I am too lazy for that, and I just want to put these rocks down. I've loaded these rocks before, so that's why these I don't have to load up. But other ones I will have to, for example, this one. So just put rocks on the sides. Sometimes scale them up, sometimes don't. Just kind of like put rocks down. This will be the playable area, and we will create boundaries later for the map. But these will be the playable areas. So you just want to create rocks, make some jagged, make some like stick out. But also, you can use some to block off areas. If you don't want the player to go there, it's always better to have an actual rock standing there than an invisible wall. So you can just put a rock right there. No problem. Put some rocks around the landscape. Sometimes turn around, sometimes inside out and then upside down and then turn around counterclockwise and then you have a whole different rock. It's the same asset, but it looks completely different. And that's what you can do. You can just kind of play with that. And kind of get these rocks into these areas. There we go. And right here, there will be something. I'm not sure what we're going to put here, but it will be glorious. So this will be a large opening with some of these rocks as well. Now also put some rocks in the distance so it doesn't look like there's just only rocks where you are. Make sure that there's rocks somewhere else and people can see them so they know that this is just a very rocky island and it's not just rocks placed for convenience for the player. It needs to blend in, which is important. Okay. Just by adding rocks, our map looks a lot better. Just by adding the rocks. And now we're going to add the trees. Now I really like pine, so we're going to add in a bunch of pine trees. Now, we're going to do this in two different ways. Close to the player, we're going to add static meshes because these static meshes, we want the player to interact with them, and we want these to be high quality, and I prefer to just have static meshes instead of foliage where the player will actually walk. That's my personal preference. It doesn't really matter, but that's the way I do it. However, in the distance, we're going to make foliage. Foliage works really well with a lot of models. It blends them together and it makes the engine run really well in the game by proxy. So we want to do that. So first let's add some trees in our path. Also, if you put foliage on a slanted area, the trees will actually grow where the landscape is pointing and it will look weird. So it's always better to just on slanted areas on hills just put the trees down yourself, put some plants around the trees, and just make them look realistic and good. Sometimes make a tree bigger, sometimes turn a tree around so it doesn't look like it's the same model over and over and over and over again. And that's how you do that. On top of these hills, put some trees here. Just there's trees everywhere. Okay, so now we're going to actually add in the foliage. So go to foliage from selection mode under the map. And here we're going to select all these trees and we're going to drop them in. And now we can actually just throw these trees down. And this is way too dense. So we need the brush size to be the same, but we need the paint density to go to 0.05. And then it's still very dense. So we need it even lower, 0.03. I think this is a little bit better. I think it's still too dense, kind of. 0.01, I guess. There we go. That's perfect. We want for all of these to have a culling distance. So you want to go to the cull distance and add it for 5,000. And, sorry, the min will be 0 and the max will be 50,000. So what this does is when it's far away, you can see them. You can't see them when you go too far, right? So it doesn't render them, which keeps the engine running better. So maybe put it to 14,000. So when you're here, you can't actually see the ones that I'm putting up there, right? Okay, because that's what we want. We don't want the cull distance to we don't want the whole system to override and explode because of all these trees. So we're just gonna put some trees down. Don't put down too many. I'll show you what I mean, by the way, with on a slanted area. If you put trees here, they'll just grow like that, and that's not natural. Trees grow up, not sideways. So that's why on these hills you kind of have to put your own trees, otherwise you get this, which is not ideal. Put some trees down though. Make sure they're not on slanted areas like that one is, like this one is. You know, it's kind of difficult to not get them on slanted areas, but you just have to kind of play with this a little. Just throw some trees down. Okay. As they load in. So now what we have is, let's say we start here, right? Let's say our player starts here. So let's delete the other one. As you can see, we now have a forested area, forested island with rocks, and it all looks pretty sweet the way it looks now. But there's still a lot of detail that we can add to this. So, but for now, we can run up the island and we can go to the place we want to go to. And we've done this pretty fast too. So in the distance, there's trees and there's rocks. And we got a little like hill we can run up to. And it all looks pretty decent. And then up here could be our, I don't know, temple maybe, or whatever. And that's how you make a quick island. Now, we're not done yet, but this is the basics of making the island. Obviously, we need to add a lot more stuff, and we're going to do that in the next episode. But let me know what you guys think, and hope to see you guys in the next episode. All right, I'll see you guys later. Cheers.